It's another great evening, folks, of ice and programming, and it's all about to go down. Four topics, just one winner. This is Sports Mania, and it goes live right now.
We would be honored if you would join us.
A good Wednesday evening, everybody, and welcome into another edition of our ESPN Around the Horn style program. This, of course, folks, is Sports Mania. We dish out four topics, we keep score, and we have one winner at the end of our program. However, folks, we are working a bit short-handed on this Wednesday, so for the time being, it'll be yours truly, Callan McClurg and John Alcorn, going somewhat head-to-head here in some friendly banter and debate over the next hour or so, hopefully to have one more or a couple more guys from the Ison family of hosts joining us. But, John, another great night of programming last night. Now another night of programming here on this Wednesday evening. Good to see you, Jay. How are we doing tonight?
You know, we're good. Of course, my brain, right before a show, thinks of theories for other things. This is the worst possible time. But, no, just happy to, I guess, be here. Screw the certain teams. But ready, finally, I can't believe I'm saying this out of my mouth for the first time. Thank gosh baseball is back, and can't wait to watch some games tomorrow night.
Yeah, most definitely we do, folks. Welcome in our good man, James Gonzalez, running in and crossing the finish line right at the start of the program. But big game, James, welcome aboard the program, man. Good to see you. How's it going tonight? And welcome to Sports Mania, man. Good to see you.
I am happy to be here. I literally ran here. My screen, or my camera screen, looks like I'm doing like 2020 Barbara Walters. Kind of fuzzy, but hey, I'm here and I'm ready to do this Sports Mania.
So again, folks, as a reminder, this is again our version, or at least trying to be a knockoff, or as John calls it, a Walmart version of the famed ESPN Sports Talk Show of Around the Horn. Again, we keep tab, folks, on this big old scoreboard right here that we have on screen. Again, we're adding points, deducting points, and again, only four topics, but it's going to be a very long program. So with that, folks, while we, in fact, are discussing these topics, then we want your input again, questions, comments, concerns throughout the entire portion of our program again. And once more, we'll do our best to, again, give you our thoughts, but also want your opinions, though, too, as well. And again, we'll do our best to read your commentary live on the air right here on this Wednesday night. But again, folks, only four topics. Keep that in mind, four topics. And again, highest score at the end of the program gets the chance to win tonight's program. We were hoping to get our good man Mess Around Dave, who won the first program of Sports Mania a few weeks ago, back on. But again, time right now. We're just also trying, folks, again, as we've said, though, here, we're also trying to make sure that we are able to still be able to have you folks tune in and support Coast to Coast MI6 and also support us here on Ison. So again, we're still working on a few things with scheduling right now and things of that nature. But again, hopefully you will enjoy our program here on this Wednesday evening. With that, though, guys, we will jump over real quick into the first topic. And again, guys, that, of course, was the 2021-2022 Men's College Basketball National Championship game. And what a game it was, fellas, between the Kansas Jayhawks, who win the whole kit and caboodle after coming back from a 15-point deficit in this game on Monday from the Superdome down in the Big Easy of New Orleans, Louisiana. They come back being down 15 points, which I believe, though, John and James, is also, I believe, a record for the biggest deficit to overcome to winning the entire thing. John, I remember saying on Sports Mania when we were talking about the tournament, my man, is that to me it really felt like there was no like clear-cut favorite, like no team who went wire to wire was number one all season, maybe lost a game here or there, but was always, number one overall, because you had Kansas, you had, Auburn and Purdue being up there, and Iowa was up there for a bit. Of course, Gonzaga was up there. They got bounced early on. Arizona got bounced early on. So again, March Madness really ringing true here. So John, to kick off the program, John, other than the fact that we saw this great comeback by Kansas, your overall thoughts more so, John, on the entire tournament. Again, the great story of St. Peter's, 15 seed St. Peter's getting all the way to the Elite Eight this season. Some of those, knockdown, feel good stories. But more importantly, though, John, how about Kansas getting the job done, though, despite being down 15 points at the half, though, and coming out and winning another national title for the fan base in Lawrence, Kansas on Monday?
Honestly, I love it. I think sometimes sports fans get really annoyed with the same thing over and over. That was with the hate with the New England Patriots for nearly 20 seasons in the NFL, which to me is the dumbest excuse ever. But I like the unpredictability, just like you see with the movie cinematic universe of any kind of different movies or sports opinions. It's really good to see that. I think really good to have Cinderella teams get so close, because sometimes we're always focused on that one star, Zion Williamson, when Brandon Ingram was back in the league before he looked like he didn't get enough sleep, cough, cough, and other these main stars. And so now the main focus may not just be on one or two guys. It's good to have bench players and maybe some guys that can shoot from the three, but I think it's really exciting to not have the same predictability of the same team. Oh, it was Gonzaga. Now, the narrative here, Gonzaga is like the Kirk Cousins of college basketball, or necessarily the Vikings are another team of college basketball. We always talk about they got this good team lead by a quarterback. You got the Pro Bowl. You got Gonzaga always getting made to potential Elite Eight, hopefully getting to the finals, but yet always coming short. So I like the unpredictability and the Cinderella stories, and that's just what I think we would love to happen more in sports.
James, I agree with John in a way, though, my man, that this tournament was just very unpredictable this year. I know about, St. Peter's. Again, everyone fell in love with the Peacocks because of them knocking out Kentucky in round one. Creighton took down San Diego State, my beloved Creighton Blue Jays. Knocked out San Diego State in overtime when they were dead, buried, and gone. It looked like chasing all game at this rate. And then Arizona going down, Gonzaga getting bounced early in the tournament again. They had a lot of, near, very sketchy games with Memphis. Even their opening round game, they looked very, very, kind of on the struggle bus in round one, playing that 16 seed. But again, they came out and, beat Norfolk State, though. But again, Zaga getting bounced early. Arizona getting bounced early along the way. Miami, I think Miami beat USC in overtime. So certainly there was just so many, intriguing storylines. So, but I think though with this game though, James, so much credit though goes to UNC. Here's a program, James, who, I think the first year without Roy Williams, 8 seed. And then they go there, man, and they knock out Duke. And I think I saw a stat, James, real quick, and this would have got me points if I was not actually giving out the points tonight. I saw a stat on Monday that said that in Coach K's first ever season at Duke, he lost to UNC. His final game of his career at Cameron, they lost to UNC. His final game ever at Duke, they lose to UNC. So like 3 of his biggest losses to Carolina, his first ever game, his last home game at Cameron, and in the Final Four to go to the final round or to the national title game. But James, more than anything else, though, Bill Self knows what he's doing. And I think he's been somewhat in a way a very, very under the radar appreciated head coach. He's kind of been there and has kind of done his thing. He doesn't care. I don't think he really makes it about himself though. But Kansas, I think, has been a school severely, I'd say, overlooked, maybe even underappreciated because of Duke and UNC and even now Gonzaga, Arizona recently. And that Bill Self just kind of been, yeah, whatever. And they just go out there and they win and they play very, very, they play well all the time across the board. But James, your overall thoughts more so about Kansas coming back from 15 down to beat the Heels and winning the national title on Monday from the Dome in New Orleans?
I thought Kansas was the overall stacked team coming into the tournament. Everybody else went with the sexier pick, you know, Chet Holmgren and Gonzaga, but you could tell that when they lost Jalen Suggs to the NBA and the Orlando Magic, that they were not the same. And Chet Holmgren really didn't play well other from one game in the tournament, and that really hindered the Bulldogs' chances, honestly. And I was really shocked. I thought he was going to break out and be good and, become the number one pick. But when it comes to Kansas, they were together. They have a great 4 or 5 players. Remy Martin, being a senior, he was able to transfer with the extra year from Arizona State to Kansas. And I knew him from Arizona State watching Pac-12. He was the heart and soul of the Sun Devils for years. And he comes into a situation with the Jayhawks, and he doesn't have to do much. They have McCormick, they have Abachi, who's going to probably be, a top 10 pick if he comes into the NBA. McCormick's a big man. Wilson was great. Braun was good. But then Remy Martin, I'm especially happy for him, even though he went against my Trojans a lot and always, hindered the Trojans. I feel good for him to go somewhere else and win. It's very special. But for Kansas, like I said, I thought they were the complete team. They definitely showed it every game in the tournament. They were not fazed by Miami, even though Miami was a great defensive team. Jim Larinaga there, really getting his guys to buy in defensively and get stops and get scores. Well, Kansas there in Chicago totally shut that down and 176-50, and I thought, okay, Kansas doesn't play around. They're going to win the game. They're going to win it all. They're going to get there. And really quick, speaking about North Carolina, Armando Bacot, he is a true champion in my mind. He's the one. He was giving it his all. 38 minutes, 15 rebounds, 15 points, 2 assists. And he unfortunately had the injury where he planted wrong and he fell and he couldn't come back into the game. And you could tell it was really hurting him. But UNC kind of rallied. I just can't believe they were leading in that first half the way they were, 40-25. I couldn't believe it. And then I think Bill Self, as you mentioned, Bill Self said, hey, we're the Jayhawks. We're the ones that are experienced. They're not. They're only 8th seed. We're number 1 seed. We know how to get this done. We've been doing it all year. We've been ranked 1, 2, 3 in the polls all season long. We know how to do things. And I mentioned, I think in one of the chats, I said, hey, Bill Self is going to rally his guys, and they're going to come out blazing. And there was a North Carolina fans that said, oh, no way that's going to happen. And it happened. And, unfortunately, it was a great game. It was close. It wasn't it didn't get away too far from North Carolina. They only lost by 3. All the hearts stopped when that 3-pointer went up, and unfortunately,
I agree.
went short, and Kansas was able to win. So everybody else was going with the sexier pick with Duke and Coach K's last ride, but I said, hey, the most complete team was Kansas, and they showed that.
John, I definitely agree. We'll go back to you for a sec real quick about that. People, I think, did go the route of like that sexier pick, as James said, though, with Carolina, maybe Duke, though. But like I had said, though, as well, though, J.A. is that Bill Self, I just think, was kind of overshadowed. He's been overshadowed, I feel like, his entire time being at Kansas. And all he's done is, quietly go about his business, develop some very great stars. Joel Embiid's one of them, obviously, with the Sixers right now. And that he has just kind of, in a way, gone about his business, just like, I'm Bill Self, I just kind of, stay in my lane and things like that, and just develop some great talent down there. And more so, I think, though, John, to James's point, though, I think, would you agree, though, that maybe that people, like I said, though, kind of overlook Kansas because they weren't that, like, flashy name or brand name out there in the title game?
Total correction that I'm down by 40 points. Nah, it's all good here. But I think a lot of times, like you said, we're so used to the loudmouth, big mouth sports team, like the Richard Sherman type, not necessarily knocking him, but like where would you say, oh, we're the baddest team in the league, blah, 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 running your big fat mouth. But yeah, it's really good that a team that isn't used to always immediate attention seeking. We always like to go with the flashy pick that's very predictable, and that's what the exact opposite of what the March Madness has been. And so, like you talked about with small market teams last year, we both did on WST, was that they don't get talked about enough just because it's not a team like, oh, it's not New York, it's not what Tampa Bay was with Tom Brady, it's not all these flashy organizations or flashy cities. But I think it's really good to see Kansas say exactly what they're doing. But yeah, it's definitely, I give full credit. I mean, look what Embiid's doing. He's in the MVP conversation in the NBA, and you look at teams like Duke, where not necessarily all those, but some of those players outside of, I think Kyrie Irving went there, but I could be way off on that. Those guys necessarily don't last long in the NFL or in the NBA, and so it's really good to see a coach to where you don't have to be running your mouth all the time to be successful in college sports or in pro sports. So it's good to have a Bill Belichick type in terms of you don't always have to be like blah, 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 writing on social media. So I think that's really awesome. And congrats to Kansas.
And again, folks, the Kansas Jayhawks, national champs in 2021, 2022, again, with that very impressive comeback victory over the Carolina Tar Heels, I should say, on Monday from the Superdome down in New Orleans, Louisiana. Great game, as we had seen on Monday. With that, though, guys, moving over from the men's side to the ladies' side of things on Sunday, the South Carolina Gamecocks, a wire-to-wire emphatic 64-49 victory, guys, over Gino Auriemma's UConn Huskies, denying the Huskies of their 12th title again. And the drought for the Huskies continues, guys, dating back to 2016, where they have not won a championship. And more so, though, James, I'll go to you first on this one, though, my man, is Dawn Staley, much like a Bill Self, in my opinion, has just kind of quietly gone about her business and has built this South Carolina program up from square one. You know, this is a program, guys, that I don't think people really took notice of in women's college basketball until Asia Wilson went there and went to the Las Vegas Aces, and they were a part, and she was a part of that 2017-2018 National Championship Ball Club. But that Dawn has just, you know, for one, being a WNBA legend, Team USA legend from the 96 Olympic team, playing for the Charlotte Sting in her career, but then going to South Carolina, guys, and building a program from scratch and igniting a fan base probably who leans towards football more than anything else, you know, with the Gamecocks, but now has single-handedly built a program now that can recruit and battle with Stanford and battle with UConn and Tennessee and all these other big blue bloods of women's college basketball. But James, the fact though that it's not, and yes, I picked UConn to win, but I would not have been sad though if Dawn Staley's team won, because Dawn has just done her damnedest to make women's basketball visible. And James, I think you know very well where I stand with my remarks about women's basketball, but that Dawn has been a true torchbearer and champion to get women's basketball on a better platform. You know, I think so much though, and I know that if she was here, she'd say the same damn thing, but I think Pat Summitt would be so proud of seeing Dawn Staley and seeing Tara Vanderveer doing what they're doing, and even seeing Kelly Harper taking over at Tennessee. But again, Joe, just seeing that, you know, seeing this team though, James, wire to wire and crushing UConn, you know, not just, you know, crushing anybody, but crushing the ultimate measuring stick for women's college basketball. So, James, your thoughts on Dawn Staley and the Gamecocks winning their second national title in a very brief stretch, though, and again, pounding UConn on Sunday evening in Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Yeah, I think Pat Summitt would have loved Dawn Staley beating Gino Auriemma and UConn, first of all. I think she would have loved that. Yeah, Dawn Staley, I heard that, you know, she started at Temple University coaching, I believe, and she didn't want to be a coach at first. She was in her prime of playing the game, and, you know, she was hesitant at first. But you see how they rally around her, the players there. It was remarkable to see that. I watched the Final Four. I watched the championship game in shock, because I thought, just like you, Connecticut would easily win. Not easily, but, you know, they would
They'd
have
win
the
regardless. They
yeah.
would win regardless.
Oh yeah, and then they have more talent, more spotlight. Let's say just with Paige Beckers. But South Carolina, you got to give it up to Dasani Henderson. She really stepped up big, had 26 points in that game. And then Aaliyah Boston, I learned a lot about
What a
her in
year
the
for her,
Final
though.
Four.
Goodness gracious.
Yeah. I know she only had 11 points, but she had 16 rebounds inside. Somebody had to get those UConn misses, and Boston did inside. So it was a tremendous effort. Cook had 11 as well. And Dawn Staley, all game long, I could see her energetic. I thought she was going to get a technical foul at one point, the way that she was yelling at the referees. I mean, maybe she wasn't being too loud, I guess. Maybe they don't hear, unless they hear a magic word, you know. But she was so energetic. She knew the goal from day one. She knew, you know, being the number one seed, that they were going to be great. And they really rallied around her. And I'm really happy for Dawn Staley. I think I tweeted that out. I can't remember. But there a lot of people around the Twitter world and social media was congratulating her, you know. And I remember, I think it was Monday, they had an interview with her from the men's March Madness, and everybody congratulating her because they know that her journey was something. Now, for the Connecticut side, it was kind of surprising. Just Paige Beckers only having 14 points, but nobody really else showed up, honestly, and that was kind of hard to see. And you could tell after a while, Gino Ariema just was kind of laying down and just like saying, okay, this is reality and we're not going to win. So, you know, that was really unfortunate. I remember saying on another show, though, that I think Paige Beckers will probably be the face if she goes into the NBA. I'm sorry, the WNBA in, you know, 5 years or so. That she has a big future ahead of her. But for right now, the Gamecocks and Dawn Staley rule the women's basketball world, and I'm happy for that.
John, more so, I would say as a UConn fan, I declare myself a UConn fan for women's basketball. But at the same time, though, JA, is UConn got there, but I think this was probably, and I think James would even agree, though, this was probably Gino's first true year of adversity that he had to see his team go through. Paige's injury earlier in the season, one of their big other players got hurt right before the title game. They had ups and downs. They had lost a couple of games in non-conference play. They had lost a couple of games in conference play this year. I think Seton Hall beat them, and then they crushed them for the conference title in the conference title games. Like, this was a year, though, up and down, though, John, that probably UConn basketball fans on the women's side have not seen for a Gino Ariema-led ball club in a long, long time, though. And I think for them to still even get to the final game, but as you see them, though, playing in the final game, they're just out of gas, though. Plus the injury that, of course, happened as well, though, in that title game to one of their big stars, though, alongside Paige's injury earlier in the season. That also just did not help this team out. And again, lack of chemistry, maybe a lot of freshmen in there, a lot of new faces in there. That this may have been, in my personal opinion, John, the first true adversity-filled season for Gino in the UConn women's team in a long time. But again, I don't want to, though, John, discredit, though, what Dawn Staley has built, though, again. You know, like James said, going from Temple to South Carolina and basically having to build a program from square one. But that begins with Asia Wilson, again, who was their first true superstar, now playing in the WNBA for the Las Vegas Aces, and that Dawn has helped ignite interest in a huge fan base at Colonial Life Arena down there in Columbia, where all their games are sold out. There's probably a long, lengthy waiting list, you know, for season tickets, you know, now because of the run that they've been on. But John, more so your thoughts, though, is against South Carolina, kind of in a way in cruise control, pounds UConn to win their second national title in a very brief 4 to 5 year stretch of the imagination.
I would say, you know, in general, it's hard to win championships regardless of the sport or men's or women's. Championship's a championship. But I give them full credit, though. I think this is the stories that we do love to see in sports, where building something from scratch. I would rather you build something from scratch. It's a better story. It shows what sports really is about. than versus doing what certain teams in baseball or football do, where you just pretty much stack the box like the Rams are doing, the Dodgers are doing. So it's just really good to see. But I guess South Carolina full credit here, and can't wait to see what their future is.
Yeah, I mean, I do too. And I think, though, that anyone out there who still doubts women's basketball or women's sports succeeding, the old attitude of numbers never lie. I mean, we had a sellout crowd, folks, at Target Center where the Wolves play of over 18,000 people watching this game on Sunday in the building. And I think a new record of viewership, too, on ESPN for the actual game rating. So, mess us with the BS about no one caring about women's sports. And on this note, we're going to hear plenty of it, whether you like it or not, here on Intergalactic Sports and Entertainment. A couple of thoughts, guys. Christy Wilson first wrote in saying congrats to the Jayhawks and congrats to South Carolina. Definitely, of course, say that. Christy, though, guys, has a very great question. James, I'll start with you first, though. I wonder what this loss means for UConn. Where do they go from here? I think, though, James, it goes back to my point. This will be an unscored segment here. But, James, I do wonder, though, because like I said, though, man, this is probably the first time in Gina, and probably not, at least in my recent memory of watching UConn play, dating back to Bird and Taurasi and Sales and Charles back in the day, even the Lobo era back in the late 90s. This, to me, was truly the first adversity-filled season that this UConn program had to really, I think, endure because of Paige getting hurt earlier in the season again in a blowout loss. And all I read, or a blowout win, I should say, and all I read on Twitter was UConn fans out there saying, Gino, what the hell are you doing playing Paige in a 20-point blowout victory for UConn? Get her out of the ball game. And, of course, she gets hurt. Again, one of their big players got hurt right before the title game again came around. But really, though, James, I kind of wonder, though. So what do you think, though, to answer Christy's point here, where do you believe UConn goes from here after this loss?
Hi, Christy. I don't think they have an issue with recruiting. I think they have the history there. It speaks for itself. I think they'll be just fine. I honestly do. Yes, there was concern with having Paige play, but I'm not worried about that. If I'm a UConn fan or anyone like that, I'm not concerned whatsoever. They recruit so well. They get the right players in all the time. So I'm not even concerned about that whatsoever. If I'm a fan, or let's say I have a daughter, and if I know what's best for her career and her school and her education, UConn is the first place that I'm looking at, just because of Gino, because of the star power that's been there throughout the years, like you mentioned. So I think they'll just keep on pace. They'll keep going. I don't think there's a scandal that's going to happen anytime soon at UConn. Unless there is, then I would be afraid of the future for UConn. But I think they'll soldier on after this. It's okay to go through some adversity as long as you come out okay and you learn from it and you thrive after. So I think they'll be fine at UConn.
John, what do you make about Christy's point here? Again, she's asking, or more so wondering, first and foremost, what this loss might do to, what this means for UConn. Because again, though, John, this is a program, my man, who has been known by so many sports fans, whether they like women's sports or not. They've been universally known for just dominating women's basketball and winning the championship. It felt like every single year. I think Breanna Stewart won 4 straight titles in her career playing at UConn from 2012 to 2016 before going to Seattle in the WNBA draft that following, later that month was being drafted. But now, though, John, we see UConn, again, the almighty women's basketball power, not winning a title now for officially 6 full seasons, dating back to 2016, now here in 2022. So, John, I think, though, that James is right, though. But, John, what is your position here maybe about where UConn goes from here after, again, another loss and not winning a championship again for at least the 6th straight season?
The automatic reaction would be just like the episode of The Office. That Michael and everybody freaking out, they're going to run out of the office and nothing was wrong in the first place. We've seen this in any single sport where teams go through droughts, but yet they're still contending. You saw it with New England. You see teams that what happened in the basketball who were contending, then they kind of fell the map just a little bit, but they're still contending. Then they get back to the championship game. So no, I think the media is fine. Like as James said, they're They have no problem with recruiting. It's not like all of a sudden they lose all their star power in terms of how they recruit, and then boom, they'll be screwed over. It's not like they're starting from year one and having to figure out how to recruit. I think they'll be fine. But again, don't need to panic. This is what separates teams from contending and to not actually contending. But the worst thing to do right now, I think, would to be panic and do not do the opposite what you're doing right now. Would be just fine.
Also, guys, and I think Justin Bosman has a great point, though, as well. And James, I'll go to you on this one, though. But he writes in diversity, too, and that diversity matters. And I think, James, if you recall on MI6, I got to interview Haley Skamura from the USA Women's National Hockey team. And we talked so much about how representation matters for, young girls out there, despite, their backgrounds, that, representation matters of seeing somebody. And James, I thought of this parallel a little bit today planning out the show and I think you brought this up when we were talking about Greg Marshall being fired at Wichita State on MI6, about how Rutgers and their women's program was under national scorn by Don Imus, who was a longtime CBS news anchor who threw the team and Steve Vivian Stringer, one of the other most respected women's basketball coaches, under the bus because of what they looked like. And kind of in a way, I draw that parallel a bit because of what Dawn Staley has helped build. That some people out there have probably said the same thing about Dawn and her kids at South Carolina because of how things look. But I do think, though, James, I think I saw a stat, though, too, that she became the first head coach, I think, first, I think, African-American coach, men's or women's basketball, to win multiple championships coaching. I think that Justin's right, though, man, that diversity and representation with Dawn in South Carolina does mean something, for this championship victory. But what would you say about that?
Well, it shows that things have changed and more opportunities are going to more people that deserve it, despite of their race, their sex, their color. So, I'm perfectly fine with what has happened and gone on in society in a way. I think there's other things, but I won't get to that. I'm definitely happy about more diversity happening in sports. And what happened back then with Don Imus, that was somebody just trying to be a shock jock and say something controversial and just be out there. You can't do that now, though. Like, things have changed, and it's for the better for everyone. You got to stick to a certain rule. You got to be, polite. You got to be correct when you say things. And that's what I like now with the women's sports. Now, and this is mainly because of you, honestly, Colin. Years ago, I wanted to watch that Final Four in the championship and, whatever women's sports I have watched. And then as we get into the WNBA season, I know that I'm going to be locked in because I have to talk about it. And I want to know things. I don't want to be, someone that just looks at their phone and reads whatever article there is. I want to be knowledgeable about women's sports and get to know more, because there's so many great stories out there that no one is talking about. And that's what I love. The diversity of all these stories that you don't really hear in the mainstream, but they're out there. And you just have to find them, and then you bring it into light. So, part of that is from you, Colin. Again, there's a lot of stuff I didn't watch before, but because of you, I've gotten into softball and definitely women's college basketball. And I'm just happy, again, for Dawn Staley to be the first African-American coach to win. And I know there's going to be more down the line. There's going to be players in this tournament that will be coaches. So, I'm happy for the diversity, honestly. And, one day I want to see a Latino descent.
Yes. I totally agree for sure. 100%. Christy Wilson, guys, also writes in, Dawn has done such an incredible job at South Carolina and deserves every ounce of respect, with a fist raised emoji, definitely for sure. And also, Justin wrote in about UConn that the injuries did, in fact, hurt them. And it certainly did, though, again, as in fact, The injury happening too right before the title game as well. And he also writes in that Ozzy Fudd will also be better next season for sure. And by the way, she is named, by the way, folks, after UConn great Jennifer Ozzy. That's where her first name comes from, for those of you wondering out there. With that, guys, to the NBA, not about a certain organization in Los Angeles getting knocked out of the playoffs, but, guys, more so eyebrow-raising remarks made by NBA League Commissioner Adam Silver, who, guys, told ESPN.com today on Wednesday that he says that star players, a la LeBron James, are not playing enough for his liking. Now, guys, I think we actually had seen this a while back, though, where Commissioner Silver made a bit more of an emphasis on having these star players play. Again, LeBron's and Devin Booker's, Anthony Davis's, the big name guys out there, Steph Curry's of the world, though, because, and I totally see the commission's viewpoint, guys, because let's say you are a Laker fan living back east. You only see LeBron come to your town one time a season because of how the NBA schedule format works out right now. And let's say that you pay all this money, go to the game, but then, oh, wait, LeBron's not going to play because of load management or he's injured or whatnot. And I give Adam Silver, guys, a lot of respect for implementing this rule or trying to, because it is about the fan base. It is really about the fan base. Because, again, let's just say, though, again, that you're living somewhere. Let's just take, for example, you live in Memphis, for example. Or actually, not Memphis. Let's say that you are in Cleveland. You're a huge Cavaliers fan, and you loved and respected LeBron, even after all the crap that happened with the decision and, him leaving and coming back and leaving again. But you still love LeBron to death because of 2016. And you make it a point to go to that game. You save your money. You get, 3 or 4 friends to go to the game with you. You buy your tickets, you buy your parking, you buy your beer and your food. But then you find out come game time, oh, wait, LeBron's not playing. And how crappy that feels, like how sad that makes you feel, depressed and frustrated because, the one time I get a chance to watch LeBron play, he's not playing, and things like that. And I say this all the time that, I was fortunate to see Kobe's second to last home game. I took my dad, diehard Celtics fan, to go watch Kobe's second to last game. Kobe played 10 minutes, and then he sat out the remainder of the game. We were there, though, and he actually played at least before he said, I got to, pump the brakes here. So, John, since you're behind right now, your thoughts about Adam Silver's remarks, though, and what really, though, John, do you believe the league should do or what they could do to ensure that players are playing other than being injured?
We tend to forget why the organization has what they have and where they came from. Back in the day, obviously way back in the day, who do you think got interested in the organizations getting money? Fans buy tickets, they buy food, they watch the ads on TV, they buy the stuff on NBAshop.com. And we tend to forget, if it's not for the fans, you're not going to see any that's happened in basketball or literally any other sport. You talk about in women's sports, it's true in every single sport. I think for players, it's really ridiculous though. Because imagine, let's say my favorite player, let's say whoever it is, let's say it's Giannis. I'm going to a playoff game, and obviously, they're up 3-1. They're about to. They're like, oh shoot, look, he's not playing. Well, then it's obviously, if you want to go see a play, you don't go see LeBron because he's going to pull it load management. But I agree with Adam Silver, I think, on this one, just because we tend to forget, either in sports or in life, who got us to where we are today. And that's essentially what I'm talking about. Who got us to where we are today, that's the NBA. And because is the fans. And without the fans, you wouldn't have what the NBA is today. But, I definitely agree with it. It's just, I don't really know how you go about this. You can't actually, force them to play or get on the field, because a lot of these guys that you want them to play on the field, they are on the court, they have, millions and millions of dollars. The owner for the Mavs, he just say a bunch of the F words, it's not going to make a difference because they have a ton of money. So at that point, I agree. But yeah, on the other side, how are you supposed to have that happen? Because there's not necessarily a consequence that you can give to the players that actually affects them, even though I agree with that service. So it's like a win, lose, lose type situation there.
James, I kind of get John's drift, though, but I think, if it's a playoff game, these guys are going to be playing in the game. It's a playoff game, and all the thing is on the line for sure. But I just really think, though, James, that, is that I think that the commissioner's onto a great point, though. But like John said, though, is that there's just nothing that he can do, though. This might as well be called the Ben Simmons rule, because, again, look at what he did, though, to the 76ers the entire season, just dragging his feet through the mud because of, I don't want to be here. I don't want to be here. And, citing mental health, I get that. But, again, I think, though, so much, though, about these, fans, though, in certain markets, though, who probably, don't get a chance to go to NBA games. Because, again, I believe other than the NFL, the NBA is, I think, the second most expensive ticket to get for a single game. I think it probably, if you ask me, it goes NFL, the NBA, and then the NHL, and then Major League Baseball, and maybe even Major League Soccer. And I just think, though, James, that, again, just taking, for example, the fact that you are perhaps in a market where your NBA team is not very good, but you love LeBron, you love Steph Curry, you love Devin Booker, you love Luka, and they come to your city one time a year because, it's just how things work out, though. But if you were, able to, just like, oh my goodness, I'm going to go and see, my favorite player play. But then you get to the arena and find out, oh, he's not playing because of load management or whatever. That's what sucks. And kind of, in a parallel a little bit to, my time going to women's basketball games. There was plenty of times where Candace Parker didn't play because of being overseas or she was hurt or stuff like that. And I'd be upset about that. But at least, though, she would make amends, though, and come and say hi to me after the game or before the game or at halftime when she had a chance to do so and make up for it there, though. Like, that's just about as good as seeing them play, though. But I think, though, James, is that I just feel bad for a lot of these cities, though, where maybe, like I said, though, the team is not very good. But maybe that there's people who root for the team, but their favorite player happens to play somewhere else, though, and they only come in once, one time a season. So, James, what do you make, though, about the commissioner's comments, but also what really, though, could the league do, though, to kind of make these guys actually play? Because I don't think, though, that you can really find these guys, because then it's just going to keep going on and on and on and on.
Well, I'm really shocked that the commissioner said something logical for once, honestly, because, a lot of times he doesn't. But this really hit hard, and I think coming up to the next CBA, that's going to be a big issue. And I believe one of the solutions is to shorten the season, to go from 82 games to 76, possibly 78, and then have no more back-to-backs. And I know that's the big issue with NBA players nowadays. They don't take pride in the regular season anymore like they used to. I remember Michael Jordan saying, people pay their money to come watch me play. I'm going to play. And I'm going to drive, my team to victory if I have to do it my damn self. And everybody's going to watch me. Everybody's going to get entertained. And I love that. And a lot of those players don't have that mentality right now. Kobe had that mentality, and that's why I loved him. And you don't really see that. I mean, my team, the Clippers, Kawhi Leonard, who learned from Greg Popovich, it's okay to sit out a lot of the regular season if you have an injury, even if you don't. So you can put the kind of blame on Greg Popovich back in, starting in like 2013, 2014, when his vets on the Spurs started to get older. And then you realize logically, hey, we only need our players when come playoff time. We could seed, top four no matter what. We don't need to, break through and, really play for our top seed. We could do it. And that's what's hurting the game nowadays. We need players to display the product as is and not sugarcoated and not sit. I remember this kid was really distraught, I think back in 2017 when the Cavs had LeBron and they were playing in Memphis. And at Memphis at that time, they were starting to get away from the grind ball clubs and, they were starting to get younger, and you've seen what they've done now. But just like you mentioned, the kid was very angry because, the parents paid for the tickets, for the concessions, for the parking, for the drive there, and LeBron's not playing. The big three didn't even travel to Memphis. Kevin Love and Kyrie Irving and LeBron James, they didn't even travel. That really hit me when that happened back in 2017, I believe. That shows me the league, definitely has to go. Okay, no back-to-backs, shorten the season by 6 or 4 games, and say, hey, we have to display our product well. We can't sit back and have guys lounge on the bench wearing sunglasses like LeBron did yesterday and basically give up on the season when a lot of people paid great big amounts of money, whether hard-earned or not, to watch you come play. And you're there sitting there, and your team is struggling, and your fans wondering why you're not playing. And you don't really have an excuse because you make so much money and you don't care about peasants. You don't care about the fans. And that's what needs to change. Now, the players are going to be ignorant. The Players Association is going to be ignorant and say, hey, you need us more than we need you. And that's the problem. There's going to be a lot of arrogance. It kind of reminds me of MLB in a way, but in a different way of arrogance. So my solution is to shorten the season and no more back-to-backs. I think that's the only way. If the players are going to be soft, make the league soft on the schedule. That's all I can say about that.
John, this is one that I think, you would be able to, get 4, 5, 6 different opinions on this subject because it's one of those, touchy feely subjects, because, we saw this though, John, for 99 days with the baseball lockout is, players telling owners, you need us more than we need you and things like that. But, more so is I just kind of go back to my point though, JA, about that family of 4 who has a son or even a daughter for that matter, who wants to see, their favorite athlete. I know that people have their thoughts on athletes nowadays for a variety of reasons, but wants to go and see LeBron, for example, play. They pay the money. They go to the game. They pay for parking. They buy the kids a jersey or a souvenir and then buy them food. And then you find out before tip-off that he's not going to play. That is just something that I, really believe is unacceptable and why I think I gravitate more towards hockey over basketball because we literally, guys, I would like to know, James, maybe you can do some research for us before we go to our next topic. Sure. About about who the Iron Man is for the NBA. Is it still AC Green, I want to say?
Yeah.
Because most consecutive games played is never going to be broken in the NBA with how many guys just don't play the season out. And that's why I gravitate towards hockey because there literally, guys, was 2 players going after Doug Jarvis's record in hockey for 835 consecutive hockey games played, never missing a game in hockey, for heaven's sakes. And that's, just something like that. But I guess, John, to add on any more on this subject, what do you have for us?
I think people forget, like you said, how much, in terms of for sports or for concerts, the experience is so awesome. But yeah, people forget, like you said, how expensive it is. I remember going to my favorite sports teams back then. I remember going to Spurs games, obviously way before they did this little drama here with Kawhi Leonard and the veteran players back in the day. But I can't imagine as a fan, I'm very passionate about sports, as anybody knows on this panel, to go to it's like me going to UT, a huge UT fan. I've been diehard since 06, and shoot, Jamal Charles is not going to play, or I'm not going to see Reggie Bush play in the national championship, or something crazy, and it just baffles my mind how there has to be some financial consequence. I think that is the only way for this to be settled, because you're only seeing this with certain players. If one person does it, just like you see one person does in childcare, everybody else is going to flip and do it. And it all, I think, truly started with LeBron. And once it started with LeBron, all these players that are starting getting money like LeBron, that they're going to keep doing it, that, it's okay, they got no consequences. I'm going to do the exact same thing. And I think that's really been, just detrimental. It's not all LeBron, but a lot of it is just because we make it more about a players' league, but without the fans, you're not going to get to the position to do what you're trying to do with sitting out games. So, you have to have some financial consequence there. And I agree with Christy Wilson. You blame LeBron, not just because I'm trying to do on this hype train of getting on LeBron, even though he's part of the problem in terms of certain rules like sitting out and all that. But yeah, I think it's definitely kind of crazy because now you have players that are pretty much have dominated the league to where what's the point of having a head coach? All that goes back to players sitting out. And I just think it's definitely disgusting. It's riveting. But as a fan, I've been to many basketball games, never been to a Cavs game, unfortunately. But just seeing what being able to work for a team this year and to see so many people that are so excited about their team and seeing a lot of kids with their families and to be able to not see, oh, this guy's not playing or this guy's not playing, that breaks their heart. People, I mean, it's just unfortunate, but like I said, you have to have some type of financial consequence or nothing's really going to be resolved. Because, yes, you can have reduced games, I agree, but with so many players making Kevin Durant, LeBron James, or Steph Curry type of money, they're going to continue to sit out. So there has to be some financial consequence, just like they did with Ben Simmons in Philadelphia.
James, I want to go back to you, though, man, because we were talking about this actually at a USD softball game fairly recently, that the NBA is going to be adding two different teams or two new teams. There's already plans in place now, and for those of you wondering out there, there are plans in place now by the Oakview Group, run by the Lewicki family, who helped redo Callan McClurg Arena in Seattle for the Kraken. They also did UBS Arena in Elmont, New York for the New York Islanders. They're building a 20,000-seat arena, James, in Vegas for an NBA franchise. Seattle just redid their arena for the Sonics to come back, plus the Kraken, plus Sue Bird and the Seattle Storm. Now you're going to have 32 teams, fellas, within the next, I'd say, 2 to 4 years maybe in the NBA. This is going to be like the NFL. You're going to have divisions with 4 teams, realignment coming very soon. But also, James, I believe with this coming, this goes to your idea of contracting the league schedule. Because I believe what I saw with a rough blueprint sent out by Arash Markazi of the Mighty Year 1090 in San Diego, 4-team divisions. Lakers, Clippers, Vegas, and Phoenix in the South Pacific Division, whatever you want to call it. And then up north, it would be Sacramento, Golden State, Portland, and then the Sonics. And then you'd have, I think it was Milwaukee, Chicago, Detroit, and Cleveland, I think, or Indiana in one division in like the Great Lakes region. It's like it would be all done regionally. But I believe, James, 32 teams might mean the schedule expands maybe, but maybe the schedule does go back. But, James, let's throw it out there real quick, though. 32-team NBA league sometime soon, adding in Seattle and Vegas. Do you keep the 82-game season schedule, or do you perhaps, James, tweak it a little bit? What would you do?
I tweak it for less, and I would make games more prime time, if you could say that. I really feature that and feature those two teams, those new teams coming in. Those are, big markets for the NBA. Vegas always has the summer league. They hosted an all-star game. Seattle had the Sonics. So it's big markets for the NBA. And there's still a lot of people that love NBA in Seattle that, hate Clay Bennett for, moving their team to Oklahoma City. I almost feel like instead of adding 2 teams, move 2 teams that are around now, honestly. I feel like 32 is too much, honestly. I kind of liked how it was back. I wasn't around, but before Vancouver, before Toronto, before Charlotte moved, they had 28 teams. And that worked out very well because you didn't have really bad teams out there. And in places that, won't support the NBA as much, like Vancouver. After their expansion year, nobody really came out to Grizzly games. So I'm kind of worried about that in Vegas. I'm trying to hope, even, if they play Cleveland or somebody that it works. But when they play the Lakers or Clippers, it'll be fine when they play in Las Vegas.
Just think though about that desert rivalry between the Suns and the unnamed Vegas
Yeah,
NBA team,
that
though.
That too. Yeah, that would be fun. So there's that element of, it's a great division rivalry and all that, like hockey has done.
Yes.
So I'm very happy for NHL. I mean, maybe the NBA can look at the NHL as a guiding light there. But yeah, I would still. It's a long season, by the way. So I would still, with those two teams coming in, I would lessen the season to 78 games because of those two teams coming in. But for right now, before those two come in,
Yes.
I would go to 76, and hope that it stops these players from sitting out. That's what I would do.
John, what do you think would be logical? Maybe minus the expansion talk, but maybe what kind of what would your magic number be if the NBA, because of players sitting out again, like LeBron and Kawhi, what would probably be in your mind a fair number of games to play where you can still at least play from October till mid or early April?
James pretty much took, I think, very similar words out of mouth. I'd say between 72 and 76, because when you have that, you already have potential a smaller, more incentive on the regular season for teams that maybe have that playoff drought, along with a potential division realignment, even if you don't have the two expansion teams, because now it puts more pressure on teams that, oh, it's just a regular season. Oh, shoot, it's 15 games left. Oh, we'll be fine. Just like what happened, I think, with Miami. Okay, they're have like an 18-game losing streak, we'll be okay. There's 82 games in the season versus if you have 70, 72, 76, oh my gosh, we are screwed. Every game matters even more, and it makes it even more competitive. So, I mean, even if without the realignment, I think you could make divisions outside of just the East and the West, so that I think it creates some more competition, along with hopefully 72 to 76 games. But Justin's saying, Canada already has one team in Toronto with the Raptors. So, I mean, interesting, but the Seattle Supersonics coming back, man, I'm ready to buy that jersey.
Oh yeah, legendary for sure. Legendary for sure. I would be in the range of between 70 to 78 would be like my range. I mean, you can go as low as 70. I mean, maybe even, as low as 68 maybe. I mean, I think that would be even a bit more. And maybe I would even think though, maybe reducing, I doubt it, but again, I was going to say, maybe reduce, East Coast travel and stuff like that, or West Coast to East Coast, but I agree with James though. No more back-to-backs, please. Plenty of thoughts though, guys, real quick. The Bear of Texas writes in to say, gentlemen, good to see you. Good to see you, and thank you for tuning in. The big bad bear down there in Texas. Also, guys, real quick, Christy, to her point, says that she blames LeBron for how players have been sitting out for a majority of time. Our good man Ishmael Lancaster says, so glad that y'all are live. Just listen to Isaiah Leung picking the Tigers to win the AL Central. Please, good Lord, help me. James actually wrote in the chat box saying Giannis rarely sits out. Respect that so much. And that's why I think he's such a beloved. I think even, and I know that John is going to, respond to that, but I know that John was not very on board with Giannis, but I think that after last season and of course the title, and I think though, John, that even this fact right here, I think would make people even, people who like yourself may have doubted Giannis before they won the title last season.
Exactly. I say without the title, I don't think any of this would have mattered, and that's what I continue to say. And Giannis and the Bucks proved me 100% wrong, but back in about almost 10 years ago, people were very critical about Giannis. He literally looked like he was so scrawny, and yet people were laughing at him. Oh, he's not going to win MVP. He's not going to win a championship. And now he's considered in my opinion, the best player in the NBA, if not really close. He is right now, I think, in terms of physical dominance, what LeBron used to be. LeBron can still score a lot, but yet he isn't as physical as he used to be with the Heat and the second part two with the Cleveland Cavaliers. But I mean, I give him full credit for, especially throughout that injury. If it was LeBron or other players, they wouldn't be playing in the finals, because there was talks about he wouldn't even play. He came back, they won, one MVP, and Bucks in 6.
Justin is saying a 65-game season for the NBA, but it's a little too. I think it's a little too two less. And I think it would sadly, though, Justin, have to be an even number. I don't think you could really end on an odd number of games. It'd have to be like 66 games maybe, but not 65.
I think if you get too small, it impacts not just the regular season, the playoffs. It impacts the offseason, how long or short that is. It impacts when you do free agency, when the draft is, and the travel. And you got to think about that outside of just how many games and divisions and potential financial consequences.
I mean, I think we all would agree, Justin and Christy included, about tweaking the schedule. But guys, I think we know that the Players Association is going to say no. It's going to be a full 82-game season regardless. And I agree with Justin, though. Expansion is good. NHL's done it already a couple of times. MLS has been doing it over the past, like a 10-year plan for soccer. Adding in Austin last season, adding in that second team in Los Angeles a couple of years ago. They're adding St. Louis in next season. There's been rumors about Vegas or Phoenix or San Diego maybe in the next couple of years. So definitely expansion is good. Looking at you, Major League Baseball, get off your rear end and get it done. And also real quick, the Bear is back. He's saying Giannis has proved the doubters wrong big time. I definitely agree for sure. And Christy also says Giannis, to me, is a well-rounded player, or a more rounded player than LeBron was. Where I think, though, guys, that we've been kind of seeing, though, before we get to our last topic, though, that LeBron, I don't think LeBron has been as aggressive. And I might be wrong, though. I've noticed, though, since he's gotten up there in age and he's added on all the mileage of the postseason and play, I don't think LeBron's been as aggressive inside as he used to be when he was a much younger, flamboyant player. So I agree with Christy all the way around.
Couldn't agree more.
Threes more, and that's kind of helped prolong his career. But just putting the team on his back and making the decisions himself has really hurt him.
The Bear is back. He says, fellows, an NBA team in Vegas is not the worst idea. Definitely something to take the time to think about, because Vegas because Vegas isn't a huge city. Right now, it's either a team in Vegas or a team in Seattle. Doing both might be too risky. And I think, though, to the Bears' point, though, I agree with James, though. I'd be a little leaning about Vegas, because I don't think, though, to the Bears' point, though, fellas, me personally, not because of my hockey bias, I don't want to disrupt the fan base, supporting the Golden Knights at T-Mobile Arena during the winter. This kind of, in a way, though, to the Bears' point, too, guys, draws a parallel I brought up, I think, on the program on Tuesday or recently when we were talking about Seattle and their franchises, is that the Sonics didn't want anything to do with hockey when it was thrown around, though, back in the day. They wanted the building just for their dates in Seattle at then Key Arena, now Clement Pledge Arena. So I agree a lot, though, with the Bear. I would be a little leaning about adding Vegas in right away, because me personally, if you're an outsider looking in on this and you're seeing what they have built, though, guys, in Vegas with the Golden Knights, you don't want to disrupt that flow and rhythm of that fan base going and watching this hockey team play. Basketball might be a good caveat, years from now. But for the time being, though, with this being a very young franchise, you don't want to steal away, kind of in a way, take away their thunder at this rate. And I think that that the Bears onto a fantastic point. James, I know you're down there pondering your thoughts here, but what do you got for us on this one?
That leads me to the point where, what about the Oakland Athletics? And what about MLB? Yeah, I know that's a summer thing, but they also go into April when they start, and then I don't know if they'll ever make October, but, then NBA would start. But, I never really thought about that. But to me, I think Vegas is kind of growing. A lot of people are moving from California, moving from Arizona, not in Las Vegas, but on the outskirts. So I
like Henderson, for example.
Oh, yeah, definitely. So you have people moving there. You have an influx of people. And I think they would be able to house both sports. You'll still have the Raiders there. You'll still have the Golden Knights. You still got the people who love college sports that you'll try to get from the basketball team, UNLV. People love the Running Rebels. And you try to get them to get to the professional team. So I think
and James, not just that, though, too. You have the Aces, Asia Wilson, with Kelsey Plum and De'Erica Hamby playing at Michelob Ultra Arena. You also now, though, in the wintertime, also now have pro indoor football at a brand new plush arena in Henderson for the Henderson Silver Knights, the AHL affiliate to the Vegas Golden Knights now, but also you have Pro Lacrosse also going there, owned by Joe Tsai, owner of the San Diego Seals and the Brooklyn Nets, with Wayne Gretzky and Dustin Johnson and Steve Nash as part investors. So, like, sports is growing in Vegas. So I really do believe, though, that, I would love to see that team, though. I think the Bears onto a great point, though, again, is that you just really can't, I think, mess right now with what's good right now, and that the Golden Knights right now are the main, tenant right now, main team. I would go, Knights right now. The Raiders are a very close second because it's the NFL. And then the Aces are up there too, because again, that fan base is already kind of taken off, though. Then that has, also worked as well. And that MLS may be there. Major League Baseball could be there very soon. But I think, though, the Bears onto a great point, though, that Seattle is more, I think, on track before Vegas. Now, does that maybe mean it's a 31-team league for a bit till they add in a new team? I don't really know. That would be intriguing to see, though. But certainly the Bear is also back saying, and he's right, though, Vegas was also a potential host city for the 2026 FIFA World Cup. But the Bear, I think you'll like this one, though, Bear of Texas. If you look at Wikipedia right now, I know it's Wikipedia, fellas, but if you look right now, though, if you were to look right now and look at all the potential hosting sites for that World Cup bid between the U.S., Canada, and Mexico, all the American-based cities for James, John, and the Bear, all of those stadiums are in MLS markets, I believe, other than Phoenix. You have the Rose Bowl. You've got San Jose or the Bay Area in regards to the Quakes. You've got Dallas and Houston. You've got D.C. You've got New York, New Jersey. So believe me, go and look at the Wikipedia page for the 2026 FIFA World Cup and look at all the American cities that have bids in. All of those markets, I believe, other than Glendale, they all are Major League Soccer markets. Seattle, San Jose / the Bay Area, Los Angeles with Pasadena, New York, New Jersey, Foxborough's on there, Florida's on there. I believe all those cities, though they're NFL stadiums, though, guys, they're all purposely there because you have Major League Soccer franchises in those markets. So go ahead and take a look at that. I can tell that they're already enthused doing that so far at this rate. And Christy also says, though, guys, real quick, Vegas is hot right now, no pun intended. Pro wrestling events are going to be happening there in the next few months, especially, I believe, though, Christy, I'm not a big wrestling fan, but I do believe that Money in the Bank is being held at Allegiant in July, I think, 4th of July weekend at the Raiders, at the Roomba out there in Vegas, and things of that nature. And also that, yes, Justin, I believe that New England is on the radar, I think, for Gillette Stadium to be hosting some of those games in the 2026 FIFA World Cup. And the Bear also agrees it's about time that soccer is more appreciated in this country. He also says he's running the greatest soccer podcast in the world. Love to hear it, man. As someone who works in college soccer and supports soccer at the USL level and the indoor soccer ranks, it's great to see that. John, I think you wanted to make a point here real quick.
Yeah, he's actually he's commenting. I send the link, but he's been supporting my podcast for about a year and a half. So we've been kind of going, I guess, back and forth on those different sports. But I do highly everybody check out his stuff.
I just love the name, the Bear of Texas. So Bear, whatever your name is, my man, we appreciate you joining us here, joining us here tonight, guys. We have one more topic tonight here. Before we in fact get to that, one more quick comment from Christy Wilson about my feeble knowledge of pro wrestling. She says Money in the Bank is going to be at Allegiant in July, while AEW's Double or Nothing is at T-Mobile Arena. So talk about, in a way, doubling down, pun intended, in the Sin City. AEW at T-Mobile, and then Money in the Bank for WWE at the Roomba in Vegas. So definitely, for sure, some good stuff there for our pro wrestling fan base. With that, though, guys, it is a tradition unlike any other. The Masters is getting underway in Augusta, Georgia, starting on Thursday. But however, though, guys, some bettors are actually putting their money on Tiger Woods as a long shot to win this tournament. And, guys, I've been very torn about this because I don't watch a lot of golf. I try to play, but I'm a former baseball player trying to play golf. It's terrible watching me swing the bat or the club, I should say. I'm like 30 over par after 5 holes of play. But, guys, I will say, though, whenever Tiger's on TV, I stop what I'm doing and I watch his round. I will just admit that right here and right now, because this guy, I think everyone out there, whether you watch golf or not, though, loves watching this guy play. And of course, guys, I really thought we had another like tragic sports death when we heard that Tiger was in that very scary car crash, after the Genesis Classic up at the Riviera in Los Angeles on the west side of the city in Pacific Palisades. The fact that Tiger, guys, is even playing in this tournament, for me, is already a win for Tiger. Because I'm sure that people were saying, oh, man, his career is over. There's no way he can come back. It's kind of, in a way, guys, almost a parallel, I think. This may sound stupid. This, in a way, guys, to me, parallels Alex Smith. Near career, life-altering injury, surgeries, leg amputation, perhaps talked about, but yet Alex Smith plays, wins Comeback Player of the Year. James and John, James, I'll start with you though first, my man. Though I would love to see Tiger win this bad boy, I would not want to probably put any money on him to win it. Though I would love to see him finish in the top 5, top 10. But I think, though, with the wear and tear of the injuries, the accident still kind of maybe being in his mind in some capacity, maybe some PTSD, which I think is a very real, because I think, though, and I think, James, you and I can share this. You've been in some wrecks. I've been in some wrecks, though. It does stay up here. We've all been involved here in some capacity. Believe me, there's times where it does stay up here, in regards to it is in your mind, though. And for him having so much time away, though, from the game because of the injuries and the and rehabbing and stuff, though, and the fact, though, that he is going to be out here, guys, playing at Augusta and trying to win the green jacket again after I think he won it either last year or in 2020 or fairly recently he won it as well, or he won a very big tournament, though, recently to kind of say, hey, I'm back. I've been, obviously away for a bit. But, James, in our final topic here, man, again, bettors are saying that Tiger is a long shot winner of the Masters. Should Tiger even be considered a favorite due to all the missed time he's had because of his injuries suffered in the car crash, in your mind?
Logically, I would say no. When someone misses, less than 14 months and when the accident happened, you don't expect much. But because Tiger is such a draw, I think curiosity comes and you want him to win. I think everybody wants him to win, not seeing the whole picture and the true segment of things where he's really not the same, and that car accident doesn't help. I can say for me, trying to fake being an athlete, my hands are not there anymore. I drop a lot of stuff. I'm not the same since, the car accident I was in back in last year in June. So I guess I can see what Tiger's going through, but he, his is more important, no doubt. I think it's definitely a sort of a miracle. I think people are amazed that he's defined the odds to be there and to take place in this 91-man field and try to be in the top 5. I really don't see that happening, but it would be one of the greatest comeback stories maybe ever if he wins it. But at least he has people watching him again. But, this is in 2005 and before. He's been through a lot since 2007. And I know, people say about Tiger, he has to be there for the game to be good. I mean, but there's other golfers. It's just not Tiger Woods. I know people thinking, it shouldn't really surprise us that he's come back and he's able to play. But the interesting thing to me is that he mentioned in his press conference that his real only issue is walking. His golf swing is fine, but when he walks the course, will he be carted around? So that would be interesting to see. And, I'm really, I'll tune in when he golfs, like you mentioned, when it's his turn, but I'm putting no money on him winning. Honestly, I really can't. Just the odds are against him, and they're really really high, and it's just a mountain I don't think he can climb. But I hope he proves me wrong. I really do.
John, I would say though that people think of Tiger, but I think of Tiger. And I know about the Masters, but I think more of Tiger in 2008 when I probably saw one of my favorite knockdown comeback stories of my time watching golf. And again, I don't watch a lot of it, but when Tiger's on, like I said, when Tiger's on, I'll be watching. Tiger is playing here in San Diego at Torrey Pines in the U.S. Open on a torn ACL, a fractured fibula, and I think even plantar fasciitis. He had to use his club as a cane the entire weekend. He's playing basically on one leg, and he forces a playoff to win the tournament on the final day. And, he's playing with, so much pain and agony. And this almost reminds me a bit of him competing here for the for the U.S. Open here in San Diego. But I just really feel like, though, that right now the field is just stacked against him right now. That the odds are against him, the deck's been stacked against him because he's just been away for so long. He's just been away for so long with, in regards to, the rehab and the injuries. And I know he had time away, though, for the personal issues he was dealing with his wife and stuff like that back in 2007, as James referenced earlier on in his take, though. But, John, despite Tiger being here and being a long shot, should he even be favored at all in your mind because of all the missed time he's had away from the course because of his injuries in that car crash suffered last year?
I don't think it's harsh at all to say no, because sometimes in sports, we tend to focus on this one athlete, like that one athlete is the whole identity of the game of golf or the game of basketball and football. We talk about the GOAT debate, which is, to be honest, really stupid. Yeah, we had MJ Patton and LeBron, and when they're gone, then there's Giannis, Bucks, and 6. Haha. But I don't think it's necessarily harsh to say that no, because he's had a really great career. He's really been through a lot, and definitely unfortunate. You go back to Alex Smith, I just seen that play as a football fan and as a fan of Alex Smith. And I encourage anybody to watch that documentary. That was really graphic, but I totally recommend it. But no, I don't think he should be favored because it's not like he's just starting out and he's an underdog. He's won multiple Masters. He's had a really great career. And even if he doesn't, I mean, it's not like he hadn't had a great career. But no, I'm not betting money because, number one, I don't bet on sports. I'm not in Vegas. But no, I wouldn't bet.
Yeah, I honestly would not, I would love to see him win it, for that knockdown comeback story. But I just think, though, that like Dustin Johnson's in here, John Rahm's in this tournament, Colin Morikawa's in the field, I'm sure, but, that I think, though, that Tiger makes these guys step up their game. And I think that everyone out there knows that. But I think, though, guys, as well, and I think, though, if you saw the picture today, though, of just his practice round, everybody is, watching his tee shot, around him and stuff like that. But I think it would just take a Herculean style effort of Tiger Woods to go out there and win this tournament. I mean, I would think, though, if he finishes in the top 10, I'd be happy for him, or like top 5, top 10. But if he wins this thing, I would think, though, it would have to be easily one of the greatest sports stories of all time, though. Again, a guy in a near fatal accident comes back after a year plus of rehab and, the odds being stacked against him. And he comes back and wins wins the Masters of all the tournaments to win, though, would be absolutely utter insanity if that actually happens at this rate. Plenty of thoughts, though, guys, real quick. Christy first writes in to say, just don't see Tiger winning the Masters. I think a lot of people, despite bettors saying yes, I mean, I don't know about that. And just to clarify, he last won the Masters in 2019. So it's been a 3 or 4 year drought right now. Justin also says Tiger in his mind deserves to be the favorite for name recognition. And with that, he should be the favorite because he's an icon, but also, again, helps TV ratings. But also, I would think, but like I said, though, it makes other guys in the field, though, to Justin's point, step up their game, though, because this is Tiger freaking Woods we're talking about here. And also, Christie is going to go with either Phil Mickelson or Dustin Johnson. Well, I think that DJ won it last year, like by 20 shots, I think. He was just on fire last year in the tournament. And James is going to go with John Rahm winning the tournament this year in Augusta National. But with that, though, folks, we have reached the end of the night, and also we have named the bear. His name is Alex, but the bear says, but I think though, guys, he's right. I just never count Tiger out. You never can. So, James, I guess over to you though. I know it may be a little difficult right now, man, but is it hard for you to still count out Tiger Woods right now at this stage of the evening?
No, I'm gonna sound real cynical, but I just see, again, I see the obstacle in front of him. It's Mount Everest. It's the hugest mountain. It seems impossible for someone who really can't walk, but they can swing. But just the fact that he's there, the story, you saw the people lined up just watching his practice rounds, that just shows you, hey, we need Tiger to play the Masters. We just need him there. He doesn't have to win. We just need his story for the game to be good. And that's unfortunate for all the other golfers. But again, like you mentioned, Callan, it makes everyone step their game up. And that's great because, they have a chance at that $11 million purse. So, yeah, I'm just, if it happens, hey, I will say, hey, I'm wrong again. But I would be fine with that.
John, do you agree with Alex's point, though, that it's hard to count out Tiger Woods just because it is Tiger Woods?
You can't count him out. Obviously, this isn't 2008, but yet we've seen this in sports time and time again. Doesn't mean Tiger Woods is actually going to win it or be in the top 5 or top 10, but you can't count him out at all. If you could play with a broken leg in a near-death car accident, as I've been in, it's hard. But no, I don't think he'll win it. But you can't count Tiger Woods out, even if he doesn't get it.
Yeah, most definitely. Again, Alex, thanks for that point there as well, and plenty of things going on. But with that, folks, we are going to sound the final horn and give James Gonzalez the victory tonight on our program. 165 to 160. My goodness gracious. Some high octane offense coming from Alcorn and Gonzalez on our program tonight. With that, though, folks, we now will wrap things up and run on into tonight's final thoughts. High octane offense again, 165, 160. James over John tonight, but again, the score is mainly just all in good fun, folks. We're not actually keeping wins and losses on this program like they do on Around the Horn. Big game, James. Congrats on the W, my friend. Over to you, though. Final thoughts. What do you got for us tonight on this Wednesday evening?
It was a good victory. I was up, and then I let my opponent back in with my, not so well thought out thoughts. I gotta do better with that. I can't let my guard up, of course. No, I'm just playing. It was great to be here, and I'm happy to do this again. Wednesday is usually a crazy busy day, and it was very good to be here and unexpected for sure. And the topics, let me tell you, the NBA topic I love because it really shows how the game was for the players, how they treated it, and how it is now. And I've always wanted to get that out there, but I never could. And I just blurted stuff out, and I was so happy because it's just stuff that I've, really thought about the NBA, how I miss the old NBA where everybody played for the fans, everybody cared about the game and cared about each other. And now it's kind of individual. So I'm happy that topic was in there. We got to the women's college basketball championship, so I really enjoyed that as well because I watched it. So, yeah, thanks for having me, guys. And, again, I hope this network thrives very much for all of you.
John, another great night, man, of coverage. A lot of great viewership, new viewers joining us. I think it makes your second loss, sadly, on this show a little bit sweeter, I'm going to assume.
Oh no, it's very sour. It's corruption. I don't know what it is, but man, I have lost 2 times in a row. It's just not working out at all. So man, it's unfortunate that I keep losing like the Las Vegas. I mean the Oakland Athletics, but no, it's always good to do these shows. But again, it's corruption.
Oh my goodness gracious. I absolutely love that for sure. But again, folks, a final score tonight, a very great game. But again, James 165, John 160. I mean, this is like some NBA Jam stuff right here that we had on Sports Mania tonight. But again, folks, my final thoughts once more again. We'll be off air tomorrow. We may have some pre-recorded stuff. Who knows? But we will, though, be having some programming, though, folks, Friday afternoon at this rate. Time unknown right now to accommodate our good man, Tim the Sarge Fielder, who will be joining us from the Pac Northwest on our family of hosts on Friday, and plenty of other great stuff coming as more time does go on. As a reminder, again, though, folks, on Monday next week is Season 3, Episode 3 of the Marvel Dudes podcast with myself and John back here on Monday evening, back here on the Intergalactic Sports and Entertainment Network. And James wrote into the private chat, that is a 1983 NBA game score with no overtime needed. 165, 160, no overtime needed. At least though, this wasn't like the Jerry West era, James, where there was no 3-point line back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
well, there was, but they didn't shoot it because it just wasn't in the mentality. That's another thing we got to get away from.
Most definitely, for sure. But again, folks, another great night. Want to again thank all of our viewers, our good man Justin Bosman, Alex, the Bear of Texas, also joining us, and of course Christy Wilson also joining us here tonight on Sports Mania. John, real quick, man, just looking at the live again, we've topped at like 5 viewers. We had 8 likes tonight. Just people, man, just seem to just love this program. I don't know if it's because it is a knockoff of Around the Horn on ESPN. But this program, in both episodes we've done this, though, John, it's been very, very well received so far by the ICE and viewers.
No, it's definitely a lot of fun, and can't wait to see, I guess, what the future is for the network.
Most definitely wishing a pleasant good night to, again, Alex, the Bear of Texas. Again, Alex, thank you for joining us, man. Hopefully you hit that subscribe button to watch more of our content. And I agree with Justin. Fernando Tatis Jr., the future of baseball. I absolutely love this take from my man, Justin Bosman down below. And Christy also says this show is just lots of fun. And I think when you have the scoring going on, you have only 4 topics going on and stuff like that, people gravitate towards this show. And again, we're going to be out of here in just about an hour and a half, which I think is a huge win for all of us here. But again, everyone, once more, as a reminder, again, we'll have programming for you again Friday afternoon. And again, we'll be back with you folks on Monday back here on the Intergalactic Sports and Entertainment Network. With that, though, folks, for our good man, James Gonzalez, our champ for tonight on Sports Mania, and our good man, John Alcorn, yours truly, Callan McClurg, saying good night from San Diego. Again, folks, we'll see you back here again Friday afternoon with Sarge joining us on a to-be-determined program here Friday afternoon back here on ISIN. Until then, folks, good night and bye-bye.
We would be honored if you would join us.